For those keeping track, for those keeping track, it's exactly 8:06, 6 minutes after the hour. But that's all, folks. I'll save that for the end of the show. Anyway, good morning. If you are keeping track, 6 minutes after the hour, for those on Biz Talk Radio, we are Facebook Live. We are Garden America. We trust you had a good week. Hope you did. The weekend is here, and most of you kicking off your weekend with us here on Garden America. Tiger Palafox, John Begnasco, I'm Brian Main. The Hall of Famer, John Begnasco. I've got to do that every single week here on Garden America. So here we go with yet another show.
I still don't know what that means.
What means? The Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
All right. Basically, it's kind of my little deal when I watch Fox Sports, Fox Football with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. It drives me nuts because every time they start the show or start the game, he introduces himself as I'm Joe Buck with the Hall of Famer, Troy Aikman. Joe, we know he's a Hall of Famer. Maybe do that every other game or maybe once a month. It drives me nuts.
But he is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
and I'm not.
But we get. Yeah, you are. Are you kidding? I've seen the pictures. I've seen the trophies.
Yeah, but that's in the little room at your house where you have all of my memorabilia
and your locks of hair.
Okay, look. In my book, you'll always be a Hall of Famer. You're my Hall of Famer.
All right. I appreciate that.
We're having fun. Good morning. Look at this. We got a packed house already here on Garden America, those on Facebook Live, and those on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
And sponsoring, well, listening to our sponsors at least. We're down to a few, but we still have some sponsors.
But we have wonderful listeners and fans and people that we like to chat with every week here from our wonderful studio in San Diego.
Our humble abode here from the iHeartMedia World Domination Headquarters.
Got a lot going on today.
Yeah, we do. And I'm sure those watching on Facebook Live have seen all the plants we have in studio.
Yeah, got some great plants, and we're going to be talking about plants.
Really?
Really rare plants.
Why would a show like this talk about plants? That throws me for a loop.
So you want to know something funny, though? You know this is a real plant show because the shot of the plants, there's only 2 flowers, but all these plants are very unique and have something behind them, but they're not real showy right now.
No, right now they just look like a bunch of green material.
This isn't a puff piece that's supposed to be looking pretty and,
Oh, you're talking like an HGTV
Yeah,
thing.
this isn't one of those. This is, we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty about plants.
You know that John calls you his puff piece. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
So good morning to everybody on Facebook who is saying good morning to us.
Yes.
Right, this is the first week of the new year, right? Did you have a good first week?
Great first week. You know what was nice? I was telling Tiger.
Did you keep your New Year's resolution?
So far, oh, yeah, I came close, though.
You almost made one, huh?
Yeah, I almost made one. But I've stuck to my New Year's resolution, which is no resolution. I don't know. You know what people do? They put pressure on themselves when they do that. Instead of making a list, make a couple. In other words, make 5 and think, if I can just do at least 2 out of these 5, I'm successful.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that you can avoid doing anything for 365 days.
It's nuts.
Right?
You know, my resolution, one of them was to not win Powerball.
Oh, yeah. You're
so
sticking
far,
to it.
And how's that coming?
Really good so far.
Delilah says, hola. Hola, Delilah.
Buenos dias.
You know what's funny, Brian? It's kind of inside, so I don't know if our listeners will appreciate.
Are you talking about Carla?
No, I didn't look at Carla.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What she
Go
had
ahead.
to say yet.
Go
But, but what's really funny is on my screen I have closed captioning.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, because this is interesting, before we went on the air, we did a little mic check and we talked about the closed captioning, how it drives me nuts.
Right.
And Carla says, I kind of like it, Brian.
Really?
Yeah.
How did she hear that?
Because I think Tiger had the audio
No,
going.
you had the audio going.
Oh, I had the audio. You blame it on... No, you're the audio. You're the sound guy.
From this side.
Did you figure out how to turn yours off?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. So I handle the audio from this side. Tiger handles the Facebook audio and video.
Exactly.
And John looks pretty.
Yeah.
I keep trying to remember where I am. That's as much as I can do.
Foggy Redding, good morning.
Ooh.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fog lately.
It's scary when you get real dense fog. We were driving last weekend up the Grapevine, and it got real dense.
Uh-huh.
It's scary. It is really spooky when you can't see 3 feet in front of your face.
Well, you've heard of all of those 100-car pileups,
Pile-ups
yeah,
and-
during the fog. Wow.
You know what
So
was scary? When I was 10 years old, I had a paper route. Getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning in this fog. And when you're 10 years old, you don't know who's in that car, What about that house over there? Why is that guy standing there?
Yeah.
And I could barely see a block ahead of me, and I was very scared. I'd throw the paper and hope for the best.
Did you used to ride on sidewalks or in the street?
Sidewalk and street.
Sidewalk.
I tried to stay in the sidewalk, though, if I
Yeah.
could, as close to the house as possible, because you had to porch the paper, meaning get the paper on the
Get it
porch.
on the porch.
Don't put it on the lawn. Don't put it in the shrubs.
Nowadays, if it's anywhere near the front of the house, they're good to go.
And then later on, people started doing them in cars.
Yeah, no, that's the way I think people do them all.
Yeah,
now.
but in my day, because I'm old,
I didn't even know they had papers. Still, do
oh,
they?
that's right. The printing press didn't come out, John, till when?
No, I'm talking about, do people still get the newspaper?
Get the newspaper.
Do you get it, Tiger?
No, I do
It's
not.
a dying industry.
Do you get it?
No.
No.
People don't want to handle the ink. They can go online.
No, I don't even think they go online. I think they just got tired of the news that was being printed.
Oh, boy. I can tell this is going to be a fun show. So here we are on this.
Yes.
What is this, the 8th day of January? Is this January?
It is January 8th.
2022, John.
And you remember because you read the newsletter yesterday,
Yep.
which was January 7th.
Uh-huh.
So this is the day after.
Now, there's a little, we can't really promote the newsletter because there's still a little problem.
No, it's Tiger had it fixed.
We're fixed?
Yeah.
Wow. If
You
you're
can-
on Biz Talk Radio or Facebook Live and you do not get the newsletter, what do they have to do?
Just go to gardenamerica.com and right on the front page, you can sign up for the newsletter and you have to check the box that says,
I'm not a robot.
I'm not a robot.
Wow. I am not a robot.
We do and then there's a retinal scan,
Yeah.
and then we'll send you a
Fingerprints.
vial in the mail for your blood.
Hey, so go ahead and do that. If you haven't read or seen John's newsletter, award-winning newsletter, I might add. Fantastic. Go to gardenamerica.com. Would you click on the front page, you said, upper right-hand corner? I wasn't listening
No,
to you.
just it'll hit you right in the face.
It self-propagates.
If you go to gardenamerica.com, that's
Way to
right.
go, Brian.
It
Way to
self-propagates
incorporate
is-
the gardening into
is
our
what you're
newsletter.
saying. So
Are we going to
welcome.
talk about any of the plants we have?
No, they're just for looks.
Maybe after.
Well, when do you? Yeah, we have a guest today talking about plants without borders.
Yeah,
right?
and
So
you
we'll
know,
do this the second hour,
Yes.
which is really going to frustrate people on the radio because some of them don't get the second hour.
Right.
So they can just go to facebook.com and look up this week's show and
You can.
see the plants that
You can
we
go to our
talk about.
Facebook page or go to our YouTube channel,
Yeah.
which, again, probably within 2 or 3 hours after every show, our IT guy Daniel posts our shows on YouTube. There you are. You can see every show you want. You can pause, rewind, fast forward.
Yep.
You can pause it, take a picture, show it to your friends. And we need subscribers. Like and subscribe on Facebook and our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio.
Our guest today is someone that Tiger discovered.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it goes, Tiger's been, Brian and I have been left out of the houseplant craze because we're not involved in retail as much, right?
Not anymore, but I was involved in it back in the 70s.
Right. So anyway, I think it's going just as strong as it did in the 70s, if not stronger. And
they're different house plants now than they were in the 70s.
right, and they're more
I
expensive.
was gonna say, by the prices,
Right.
I think it's stronger.
Now, is that because there's a fad going on that people want them, so they're jacking up the price?
I think
Yes.
it's because of the internet.
Yes.
The internet shows the backdrop to the newsletter this week was the pink princess philodendron, which I remember being in 4-inch pots for like $3.99. And now the price has come down because I
Right.
think you can get one for what, maybe $300 or $400.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had been up to like $2,000,
Exactly.
$3,000.
That's crazy.
It is
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
That's why I
nuts.
didn't get one. That's why I only spent $100 for a 1-inch tall plant.
Hey, I want to get to John's quote of the week, which
Yep.
is a very inspiring quote before we go to our first break. But first of all, Tiger, quick little tease on today's guest.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking with Mark Javier, the founder, CEO, president of Plants Without Borders, where they connect regional growers of these very unique, rare, sought-after plants with, other growers, other retailers, so that way they can get them. So, as an example is they get these plants from their source and then bring them into the countries where they can sell them and find happy homes for them.
And Mark, we will be calling you.
Yes.
we will call you. I think he, on Facebook, asked, what number do I call?
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. We'll call you. John, you've got less than 50 seconds for today's outstanding quote of the week.
Yeah, and the quote might seem odd, but if you read the newsletter, Brian, it pertains to the article that I wrote on the flower game.
Sense.
Right. And so the quote is from George Santayana, who is an American philosopher, a little controversial. But he said, and there's truth to this, history's a pack of lies about events that never happened, told by people who weren't there.
The told by people who weren't there is exactly correct.
Yeah. And the reason I came up with that quote was in the flower game, it's like, how do you find out insight into historical figures? And one of the reasons is by looking at their writings. And in the flower game, you find out what kind of plants they liked.
Absolutely. It is break time, our first break. Segment number 2 coming up, Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us. Mark's going to be with us shortly as we continue. Break on Biz Talk Radio. Also a shorter break on Facebook Live. I'm Brian Main. The Hall of Famer John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. We are Garden America. All right, don't want to let you linger too much longer out there. We are back from the break here on Biz Talk Radio and Facebook Live, getting a busy signal. I know Mark is on Facebook, so perhaps we can clear the lines and get a hold of Mark before too long so we can start our segment, John.
Hey, one of the plants I brought for Tiger for Christmas was kind of a Dr. Seuss-like plant. It's a dandelion tree.
Now, it's not tropical, is it?
It will freeze, so it's not from the tropics, but more Mediterranean.
It looks a little tropical. It also looks like a type of a fern.
And it's not.
But it does. It looks like it, though, right?
It's a Suncus palmensis, and palmensis means like a palm, right? And it does look like a little Dr. Seuss palm tree.
Now, how big will that get? I love that.
Well, you know what? It's ready. It'll bloom in about 4 weeks. And you get these huge clusters of a huge cluster of dandelions.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Outstanding. I like that.
I know. I like it too.
And then behind me, you brought me two as well. And one is flower. You brought me a flower to show what it's going to look like.
Right, and that was the Ulster Marion. It's the Princess series, which is dwarf. And it's good for containers, good for patios. The regular Ulster Marion, the florist type, really need to be in the ground, and they get to be pretty tall. Yeah, that's the flower. So if
the
you're
Ulster
on
Marion flower, that's what it's going to look like.
Right, if you're on Facebook, you can see what that looks like. And then I also brought you a Calla Lily, the variety called Green Goddess. And the regular Calla Lilies have white flowers, but Green Goddess looks like you took a paintbrush and brushed the end of the flower.
Well, thank you, John.
Typically the spathe, I think, is what it's called.
Calla Lily, Ulster Marion. I'll still marry you.
Ulster. That's how you remember Ulster Marion?
Yeah, Ulster Marion. And you know who used to talk about that? Was our good friend Bruce Asakawa.
Really? I never heard that before.
He had a trivia question, something that had to do with I'll Still Marry You.
Really?
And it was like guessing the plant name.
Bruce always used to stretch some of his puns.
Of course. That's why we loved him so.
Right.
He was a lot of fun.
He was.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get a hold of you got the number? Okay. Well, we're in the middle of a segment right now. So we will bring him on.
Finish this segment.
Yeah, we'll finish the segment and bring Mark on next segment because this is one of our shorter segments. So let's get back to the plants real quickly here, especially for those on BizTalk Radio, Facebook Live. So those are the two that you brought me. We talked about the one for Tiger that's going to bloom in about 4 weeks.
I should show the one that I bought myself.
You
Yes.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see it.
I thought I was ordering bulbs online, and this was an Oxalis, and there were supposed to be 3 bulbs. Instead, I ended up with 1 plant. So I kept it for myself, and it's Oxalis palmifrons. Again, leaves like a palm tree.
Palma frond, like fronds.
Right. And you don't think of an Oxalis looking like that, because Oxalis mainly are weedy, right? There's a lot of weedy type Oxalis. But, you know, some people collect them. And what I like about that is, first of all, you can't get them anywhere. If you go online and try, you can buy seeds.
And that's why it's kind of expensive?
Kind of expensive, yeah.
Kind of expensive.
So you can buy seeds for them, but you know what it's like buying seeds, right, Brian?
You never know what you're going to get.
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't even get.
Yeah.
I learned that lesson with the rose seeds, John, when I got the pumpernickel seeds, or whatever it was.
You know, I just had an epiphany this week because I was, I would say yesterday afternoon, I was thinking to myself, I started pruning my roses early, and I'm going to be ahead of the game this year, right? So
There you go.
I got 60 of them pruned, and then when I came in this morning, I started to think, well, that leaves 1,340 to go.
Right.
Which I said take you about 10, 15 minutes to finish up, right?
Yeah.
And I let's see, I have
You keep
13 roses, and it took me 30 minutes.
So I got a question for you. So
Yeah.
rose pruning season, John.
right.
What gloves are you wearing while pruning roses right now? Like this is because you're getting in there. This isn't
Right.
just like taking your time.
Right.
You're trying to get in there and get out, prune as many as you can
Just
in a
a
day.
pair of gloves that has the cloth back,
Yep.
but the kind of rubberized front.
That's
Really?
that's what I use.
You don't wear a leather one?
No.
No? And you're not wearing the ones that come up the what is this, the forearm?
No.
No?
I use hockey.
I think
use hockey
I
gloves.
was gonna say you could probably do more if you wore those, couldn't you? Because some of your roses are very large, and I'm sure they're difficult to manage.
Well, they're all in containers, so they're
Right.
not difficult to manage because I pick one up and turn it whichever way I
you
need
want.
to.
You don't have to.
The difficult part is taking it out of the pot and sawing it down the middle. And I think, I'd really like 2 of these.
Yeah.
So some of them have look like they're divided because
Yeah.
you see 2 growing points, but they're actually connected in the center.
Yeah.
So if you take a saw and cut down the center of it, you end up with 2 plants or none.
My biggest challenge
Yeah,
was,
or you just killed it.
my biggest challenge was getting all the weeds out this year. So many weeds in these pots, down into the pot, with the thorns, and trying to navigate through there to pull these weeds out.
Yeah.
Not fun. I use
you-
the same kind of gloves John does.
Do you
Yeah.
use pre-emergent in your pots at all?
No,
No.
no.
Because that can sometimes help with the weeds that get around the base of the plant that
That
are
was
really
the base.
hard to
Yes,
pull.
yes,
As long as they're a weed that reproduces by seeds, but if it's some kind of grass or anything, it's
Well, first of
almost
all,
impossible.
I don't think they sell that by the ton, so I don't think I could get enough. But I've always been leery of using it in containers. Can it be used in containers?
I agree. It is questionable,
Right.
But it's kind of like the the systemic insecticides. They say
Right.
don't use in containers, but then they do sell a few that are smaller dilutions,
Right.
that say you can use in containers. So I kind of feel like pre-emergent is going to be the same thing. You wouldn't want to use it full strength.
Is that
Do you-
because of drainage?
No, it's because it would be so concentrated in the container that it could possibly burn burn the plant.
But you know the Bayer like all-in-one fertilizer, right?
Right.
Do you know why they tell you? I think they've changed it now, like you said, with a different dilution. But do you know why they said not to use it in containers?
I thought it was because it was just so concentrated.
But not
in the container.
But not the insecticide and fungicide. It was the fertilizer.
Oh, but even like the tree and shrub, I think they say don't use in container.
Oh, I use in containers all the time.
I agree, but I just use a little less.
Yeah,
because.
But they should give a reason why. What is it thinking? I mean, they said don't use it in containers.
Warning labels with the reason why.
With the reason why, because
those labels would be massive now. The labels are big enough.
You tell me why, and I'll decide whether or not I'll use it.
Exactly. How about this? How about instead of a warning label, here's our suggestion. We suggest you don't.
Well, I mean, it's like the fruit tree one. The fruit tree one is the same product. But it's like you can't use this one on fruit trees, but you can use this one on fruit trees.
Because it's
labeled. It's just a little bit less. It's just got a little bit less product in it.
And I used, I had gotten, I think you probably remember last year I got, I think it was 4 citrus from Four Winds Nursery.
Right.
4 Winds, I thought you had to order 4 citrus. But they were just ravaged by citrus leaf miner. So I used the systemic in there, and they're perfect now.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to get a hold of our guest. Mark is going to be with us talking about Plants Without Borders, house plants today. Hey, thank you for tuning in. A lot of people on Facebook Live, those on BizTalk Radio, thank you for being part of our weekend here. I'm Brian Main. We're Garden America, Tiger Palafox, John Bagnasco back after these short messages on BizTalk Radio, even quicker on Facebook Live. Mark, our guest, is coming up next. All right, we are back from the break, and again, we thank you so much for joining us. Hope you had a good first week of 2022. Back with your garden buddies here on Garden America every Saturday morning, 6 minutes after the hour. We kick things off, 8:06 Pacific Time Zone, Eastern Time Zone, 11:06. All right, we've got a lot of business out of the way. We will get back to some of these plants later on in the show, but in the meantime, our guest is ready to go. Tiger, Mark is standing by.
Yeah, so this morning we have Mark Javier with the Plants Without Borders, the creator, the founder, the president, CEO, everything for Plants Without Borders. Mark, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hey, now, Mark, it's kind of a neat, you have a neat background, not necessarily completely tied with plants, but, the company you've created here, I mean, it seems like such a simple, great idea by connecting people where these unique, these rare, maybe these tough to get a hold of plants are more native to, more adapted to, and then connecting them to people that, in regions that, no, these are not native, these are not adapted, but we still want them. And so you're making it a little bit easier for us to have these plants, right?
Yeah. So I myself am, not a super avid gardener. Like, I'm not an expert in cultivating or anything like that, but my family is from the Philippines, where agriculture is the main industry. And some time ago I learned that pineapple growers there, they make 6 cents for a pineapple that retails for $2 here in the United States. And when I learned about that, I realized there's probably an opportunity to make that market more efficient. And about a month or two later, this whole houseplant craze started coming up, and all of this Facebook group trading started happening. People were buying plants from people in Indonesia through Facebook and using PayPal. And I took one look at that system and said, I can fix that. Mm-hmm. And my previous work was at a cryptocurrency exchange It was a decentralized exchange, meaning that there's no middleman, peer-to-peer trading, cross-border, international, and the benefit of that is it's more efficient and it helps everyone save money. And what we're seeing now in the United States is small businesses, garden centers are having to increase the cost of their plants because their freight costs are so high. And in the situation where there's inflation and consumer demand is uncertain for the future, we really want to be able to help these businesses save money. So we're making the supply chain more efficient and helping small businesses all over the U.S. save a ton of money.
And, you know, as you mentioned, I mean, credibility. John just mentioned this idea of buying something online and then what you're actually getting. You know, by working with you guys, there's that, you know, you can get a picture of what the plants that you're going to be getting. You're going to get that, you know, comfort that, you know, the purchase is made with a credible company. And if there's any problems, you have somebody to go back to. I don't know if you're, you know, listening to John earlier, but he bought the Oxalis bulbs thinking he was going to get 3 and then ended up with 1. And, you know, so that's a big question mark when you're buying plants online, right? Are you actually going to get, you know, when you are buying from these people on Facebook, on the internet, what you actually want and what you're, you know, some people are paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for some of these specimen plants, right, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the problems is, there's a lack of trust in buyers and sellers. I guess it's a pervasive problem in the entire industry. And I think it's really simple to just say, hey, I'll send you a picture of the plant that you're inquiring about, and if you like it, then you can proceed with payment.
Yeah.
And really, it's just that simple.
Hey, now, Mark, let me ask you a question. Do you sell direct to customers? Like, can the general public go onto your website, find a plant, buy it directly from you guys, or are you guys only selling to retailers?
So we're open to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We're an inclusive supplier. Whether you want to buy 1 plant or 10,000, we'll be able to help you.
Okay.
Yeah, John has 9,000, I think, that you want to order, right, John?
I don't know, but the wheels just started spinning in my head, and I'm thinking.
Did you look at the plant list that they have on their website, John?
Yeah, and the only question I have now is I'm concerned about how the plants are grown in their native countries. Are people going out and denuding the rainforests, or is somebody watching over how these plants are propagated?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what we do to prevent that is, you know, we have the growers certify with their local regional office that the plants weren't taken from the wild, and we can have them send pictures of the plants while they're in the pot. Obviously, you can't really. It's hard to say that this has never come from the wild at any point
but you guys have
existence,
taken
right?
some steps.
That's sort of the nature of the problem. But, you know, the fact that, the main issue is big companies coming into there, like, destroying a rainforest, and that's completely not what we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
But
we do everything we can.
You do what you can to mitigate that. You're obviously aware of it.
Yeah. And, that's why we work with small farmers that basically have their own little plot of land, and they just propagate from their own stock.
So now let's talk about some of the plants that you guys have been focusing on with Plants Without Borders, meaning, you know, obviously, you know, the ones that are more sought after, you know, the like you mentioned, that houseplant craze of people looking for these specific ones that are popular on the social media platforms. But even besides that, you guys have plants that are endangered, pushing the limits of, different, meaning not only are you guys having those plants that are sought after, but you're also introducing new ones that maybe people weren't aware of. So who's out there kind of finding these plants for you, Mark?
So we have a global sourcing team. We have boots on the ground in Latin America and Southeast Asia. So we're able to transcend time zone barriers, language barriers, and cultural differences a lot faster than most other suppliers in the United States. That's one of our competitive advantages.
Yeah, and I mean, just from a trend standpoint, because you are connected globally, if something becomes popular in Europe and you think it has, weight to be able to popular in the United States, that's going to be easy for you. Oh, look we're sending all of these to Europe right now. Well, now here in the U.S., maybe they're going to be interested in that. And then next thing you know, you introduce a new variety, a new plant that maybe people weren't aware of. So having that global reach is pretty cool. And then, I don't know, it's just kind of neat to think what is popular to where these plants are native to. You said you mentioned South America and, different parts of Asia. What do they like? Because that might be different than what we like here in the United States, but it might be something that we actually do like because we've never even seen it before, but it's a very popular plant for them, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I read a study recently where the researchers themselves said, there was a dearth of formal information on houseplant purchasing in 2019 and 2020. So it's actually difficult to understand what is truly popular and what's truly rare. Mm-hmm. And part of our global intelligence initiative is to monitor these trends and then identify opportunities where we can fulfill a need.
Ah, okay. So just because they're popular doesn't always mean they're necessarily rare. It's just kind of like they're keeping the demand, but that plant's maybe readily available. Give
like
us
the Monstera Thai constellation that you've been after, right?
Exactly. So is there a city somewhere, Mark, where these plants are just growing prolifically, so they're not really that well, you say rare, but they're very popular?
Yeah. If you'd like to purchase Thai constellations, we can set you up with a subscription. It's $2,000 a month, and you can resell them until they're not rare anymore in your location.
Perfect. Yeah.
That was great.
I have to tell you quickly a story about when I visited the International Orchid Show in Miami, which was maybe 20 years ago, or a little later. And there was someone there from Ecuador, and I noticed a lot of Mark's plants come from Ecuador. And I bought a lot of plants there, but I wanted a Philodendron Gigantium. Mm-hmm. And he said, I don't have any left. I sold out, but I can mail you one. And I said, all right, I'll pay you for it now. So I gave him $100, and I had 3 emails after that, but never got the plant.
See, that's what Mark is avoiding right here. So
yeah, and there is a risk to international transactions. What I saw a problem with was, some of these trading groups, it's basically if you're Indonesian.
Hey, Mark, sorry to interrupt, but we do have to take a break. When we get back from break, we'll continue talking with Mark Javier from Plants Without Borders.
Yes, indeed. And those on Facebook Live, any questions or comments for Mark right there, post them on our Facebook page. We will get to them almost immediately. A good time to ask those questions here as we continue on this Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, depending upon where you are. It is break time, as Tiger mentioned. Here on Garden America, Brian Main, Tiger Palafox, John Bagnasco, back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. And just like that, we are back from the break. Thank you so much, Mark Javier, our guest this morning, Plants Without Borders, learning a lot of good information. And again, just prior to the break, I mentioned on Facebook Live, any questions, comments, post them right there. Well, it's going to be a great show even further on after the fact once we're through with Mark, because a lot of plants here in the studio and a lot going on this morning. So, Tiger, had to go to the break. Didn't mean to interrupt Mark, but we are back.
Yeah. And
we left Mark in Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken.
We left him in Indonesia.
A lot of these plants come from Indonesia, and there's been a big history of horticulture there. Started with the Dutch, some hundreds of years ago. And there's thousands of small-scale growers there that are just maintaining their own plot of land. And what that means is that where plants are typically imported from. Most of them come from South America, but not too many of them are coming from like Thailand and Indonesia. So there is a big opportunity to create more liquidity between the two markets. For example, if you look at like the price of Bitcoin, for example, this is kind of what informs a lot of our decisions. If you want to buy Bitcoin in Korea, you have to be on a Korean exchange, and you can't trade with people in the United States if you're in Korea. So the price of Bitcoin in Korea is a lot higher, or is different than it is in the United States. So there's no liquidity between the two markets, and there's price discrepancies there. So by just creating a venue where regulated trade can happen, we're getting closer to an equilibrium point and creating more value for everybody involved.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing that's so important with this program is what you had said earlier, where you talked about the pineapple growers was getting 6 cents for something that was being sold for $2. I think that these plants are in areas where people don't realize the value, and they don't understand that that plant that they're just growing in their backyard in theory could produce them thousands of dollars a month if they just do it correctly and propagate it, but they don't have the source or they don't have the means to get the distribution. So you guys are coming in and be like, hey, and then you guys tell them that hey, this is a fair price. You're not pinching them. You're not saying, oh, I'll give you 6 cents for that pineapple.
Right.
You're saying, hey, it's valued at $2. Why don't I give you $1 for it, or 50 cents, or whatever it takes? Right? We could, you have other things, but so these people are getting a fair price for the work that they're putting in, right, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is an interesting situation where, some of these plants are hundreds, even thousands of dollars. But the trend of like small scale farmers essentially reaching out directly to American consumers is very new. Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, the growers themselves have increased their prices since the houseplant craze. So from our perspective, we understand what they're going for in the local market. We are monitoring what local Indonesians are paying for these plants, and we know what it costs to ship it here to the United States. So if they want us to give them the orders, they need to give us a fair price. And part of our business model is, we're not forcing anyone to do anything or force them to set the price at a certain level, but it's all up to them if they want to supply us the price that the customer's asking for.
Hey, so Mark, I know that you are not necessarily a plant guy, but you do have a lot of really neat stuff on your website. I'm going to put you on the spot here and ask you, what is a plant that you are excited about from your website? It doesn't necessarily have to be the most unique or rare, just one that you find like, wow, I'm really happy that we have this plant ready for distribution.
Yeah, I really like the Dandelion magnificum, the one that's on our business card, and I think it's on the first title slide of our page. And I like it because it's it's not like one of those super rare, like it's super exotic, but it is an impressive plant that mainstream consumers would find desirable, such as myself. And that's when I realized like there is an application for sourcing of super high-end stuff, but there also is a commercial application for interior scapers to just decorate places with these big, nice plants that aren't super expensive, but they look really good.
Mark, some of our listeners are familiar with trying to order plants from overseas, and I'm wondering about import or quarantine regulations. If someone orders from you, do they need a phytosanitary certificate? Do they have to contact USDA and have the plants quarantined?
Yeah, they don't need to do anything. We do all of that for them.
Oh,
Yeah, this is just like it's
can't be any easier than that.
No, you sit back, relax, and enjoy your plant when it arrives.
Yeah.
All the costs are taken into consideration.
Right.
What it cost of shipping, And we did have a question though on Facebook, Mark.
I think Rick in Idaho wanted to know whether or not a growing guide was included with the plants, or should someone just go to the internet and Google the care of that plant before they order?
Well, we offer 24-hour support from Monday through Friday. So if you have questions about any of the plants, we can ask the growers directly what their thoughts are.
Wow.
And that way, we're not going to just leave you out to dry if you can't take care of the plant. Like, we're here for you. And I think that's different than a lot of other providers. And I think an analogy that makes sense is like sort of like a Brazilian steakhouse where, we're just showing you what's available. Like, we're not shoving it down your throat. There's a lot of different options, and it's all high quality and you get good service.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are looking at the long-range game in the sense of, could you sell this one thing for $200 and make $200 and then never get a repeat customer?
Yeah.
Or could you sell this plant for $100, but meanwhile get them to buy it 1,000 times again because of the quality, the service, the plant that you get?
Here's the thing, Mark. If obviously, people who have been gardening for a long time, this is fantastic. But how about people that are brand new to the gardening game, never done it before? You guys are holding their hand the whole way. So once they do order from you, if they've never grown the plant before, you're right there to help them be successful, and in doing so, perhaps introducing more people to our industry.
Well, that's a great point. Up until this point, it's been mostly enthusiasts that have, been seeking these specific varieties that are hard to find. But you're right, as in there is a huge application to introduce an entire new segment of customers to the industry and get them excited about plants that are really cool and will help them grow them.
Hey, Mark, we got to take a break. We've got news coming up top of the hour on Biz Talk Radio. Stand by, Mark. We're going to come right back to you. Stand by the rest of those on Facebook Live and Biz Talk Radio. Those on Biz Talk Radio, hopefully your market carries the second hour of our show as we continue our conversation with Mark Javier here on Garden America. So stand by. News coming up top of the hour. Biz Talk Radio back at 6 minutes after. Facebook Live coming back quicker than that here on Garden America. Happy weekend to you. For those on Biz Talk Radio, we say thank you for listening and good afternoon to you. Those on Facebook Live, we continue. This is Garden America, back with John McNasker, Tiger Palafox. I'm Brian Main. Great conversation this morning, Plants Without Borders, as we continue our conversation, Tiger, and a lot of good feedback on Facebook Live.
Yeah, lots of great info. And I did post a link to Plants Without Border on our Facebook page in our thread. And I will be doing a post later. So if you are looking for more information, go to the Garden America Facebook, and then we will be able to put you in touch with Mark at their Plants Without Border website. Now, hey, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot with another question. And it seems because you have such a good relationship with these growers all over the world in these sources. Do you see it all an opportunity? And I don't know if there is one or not. But almost to kind of go both ways, like are these other people from different parts of the world interested in also getting plants from other places? Meaning, like, for instance, say you're talking with someone from Ecuador and then you're talking with someone from Venezuela. Like, are they also starting to trade a little bit themselves?
Yeah, that's a great point. And we haven't started developing that other side of the market yet. Right now, we're focusing on perfecting the shipment to the United States and standardizing the process. But then once that's done, we'll be able to apply that to any market in the world. And by the nature of people wanting plants that aren't in their area, there's a lot of places where people want plants that they don't have, and we can fulfill that need. I don't know what exactly those are yet, but the opportunity exists, and that's the long-term goal.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely just feel like there's got to be an opportunity there to connect people because, as you're mentioning, I mean, just because they have these one plants doesn't mean that they have citrus or a certain fruit or anything like that. And so now you're being able to kind of connect them, all of the different ways. So wow, how long has Plants Without Borders been around, Mark?
So we started in May 2021.
Wow, how exciting!
You're newbies.
Yep.
Yeah.
We are. We're a new company.
Definitely going up.
I was going to say that a lot of the plants on his website are aroids, plants in the Philodendron family, and those naturally, because of, for the most part, how they're grown, adapt themselves well to houseplant culture. So even in cold parts of the country, people, can be bringing these plants in, enjoying them indoors, where here in San Diego, we'd probably try to grow some of them anyway outdoors.
Yeah, I mean, they can go in or out, which kind of is nice because, you're not
That's what
just
hamburgers are all about.
Wow.
Way to go.
Not even a sponsor.
Yeah. But I mean, you're not restricting where you're shipping these plants to because as, John just mentioned, I mean, you could be shipping these plants to New York where they are getting snow and freezing, but they are going to go to a greenhouse and then somebody will keep it as a house plant. Or this could be a plant going to Florida or San Diego or anywhere else. So, by having that specific style of plant, you're not restricting it. That's really, really good stuff.
Hey, Mark, we might have missed it if you addressed it. One of our viewers and listeners asking if you work with U.S. growers.
So we supply U.S. growers. A lot of them get their stock plants and their starter plants from overseas. And I think one of the lesser-known facts is that 50% of plants that are sold at retail, or nearly 50%, originate offshore. And how we're helping U.S. growers is we're helping them get access to massive quantities of these plants at a low cost so that they can monetize the demand that exists currently. A big problem is that the trend cycles are unpredictable, and producing plants is really expensive in the United States. So by shipping them fully grown plants that you don't need to put a lot of labor into, you can help them save labor and make more money.
Yeah.
We should let our listeners know, too, if you go to the website, you will see some plants that are over $1,000. And the reason for that is when plants are produced inexpensively, they usually come from tissue culture, which allows you to mass produce plants at a low cost. But some of the plants, like the Thai constellation, the variegated monstera, cannot be produced from tissue culture because they lose that variegation. So there's a lot of labor involved, and
that's where the expense comes.
And you can't produce them quickly enough, right?
Yeah. So that's why.
That's a problem that a lot of people are actively trying to solve. And one of the solutions that one of our suppliers have had is by mass producing high constellation and then selecting the ones that are variegated and then just selling those. So in a way, they're able to increase the output compared to traditional methods. It's not the same scale as 100% variegation, but as close as you can get to that, the more money that person's going to make.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, Mark, lots of great interest, lots of good information. Again, Plants Without Borders. I want to direct people to find more information about your company, and it's just plantswithoutborders.org. Like Mark said, big banner on top that says 24-hour support. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them. And as Mark mentioned, you guys do sell direct to consumers, right, Mark?
That's correct.
Yeah, so if you are sitting at home right now and you're interested in any of the plants that we were talking about, or take a look at the website and interested, you can order them yourself as well. These aren't just going straight to growers. But at the same time, I'm sure, Mark, you do like, if there is a grower listening right now and wants to produce 1,000 variegated, monsteras, feel free to talk to Mark and get them in stock. So
a lot of his plants have heart-shaped leaves.
Yeah.
So I was going to give you and Brian a list of some things I'd like for Valentine's.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say give us. You turned that around.
Hey, thank you for joining us this weekend, Mark. Hope you have a great rest of the weekend.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
All right. For being in business a year, they thought of almost everything. How simple and easy. John likes the fact that he can buy all these, propagate, and sell them himself.
Well,
I've tried to import roses, right? Do you keep turning my mic off?
No, you know what it is? You share the same mic as the phone callers, the guests.
I see.
So I've got to be real careful how I balance that out. So I caught you.
I appreciate that. What was I saying?
I ordered some roses.
Oh, yeah. I know how hard it is to import roses, right? It's virtually impossible. And I just got a call or an email a couple days ago from the Department of Agriculture, and they said, we need to schedule a time we can come out and check your roses to release them. This is 2 years later that they've, been growing in my yard. They've been under quarantine. Now they're finally going to get released. And again, I've got to pay for an agricultural inspection. But with Mark's stuff, I think the main reason is he doesn't ship with soil.
Right.
And of course,
and that's what they're concerned with.
Yeah,
right?
so it just
that's one of the main concerns, right?
It just has to get checked at the import facility, and then after that, it's released.
Right. They still need phytosanitary certificates, but they cover all that, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I want to be into philodendrons.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's like
you do really well with philodendrons.
You would.
We've talked about it the past several weeks, and I remember, it's funny because back in the 50s and 60s, big house plant, right?
Right.
And I watch these old reruns. Perry Mason comes to mind, and they're in somebody's office, and there's a philodendron in the background.
Yep.
The split leaf, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
You sell them, Tiger?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a pretty common one now.
Great indoor plant, right?
You want the variegated split.
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah. So put that on my list, Tiger.
I will, but I mean, like I said at the beginning of the interview, what he's doing was almost. I mean, by no means am I trying to downplay Mark. He's doing exactly what needs to be done, but what he's doing is so simple, yet it's exactly what we needed in our industry.
That's exactly right.
Because, look at John. He scours the internet for plants all the time, and he finds really neat stuff all the time. But at the same time, there's always that question when he's hitting that pay button, am I going to get what I'm actually seeing?
So in a sense, Mark takes most of buyer beware out of the equation.
Well, because he shows you a picture ahead of time of the exact plant you're going to
get. Right, and you match it up, and that's what you better get. Hey, we're going to take a break here real quick. Once again, thanks to Mark Javier. Great guest this morning. A lot of good feedback on Facebook Live, and you've got the link, right, Tiger, on our Facebook page. Okay, quick break. Coming back. Whatever questions you have, let us know as we continue on your weekend with your friends here, your garden buddies on Garden America. As they say, welcome back to the show. We want to thank those on BizTalk Radio who tune in each and every week. But again, do want to remind you, if you want to see this show, watch the show live, go to our Facebook page, Garden America Radio Show. If you're on the East Coast at 11:06, Western Time Zone, 8:06, and of course, Mountain Time, Central Time, we can leave that to you to figure out. So here we are back with...
You saw the comment online in all capital letters from a listener, Dana, that said, "No more plants, Brian."
And did you see what...
Exclamation point. And Carolyn from...
I think Brian deleted that comment.
Carolyn from Costa Mesa says, "Good luck with that, Dana."
I told you guys I've had to bring everything out to the front door area. As you walk in now, there's plants on both sides.
So you know what my answer to that is, Dana, is that you just need to get a bigger house.
Bigger place. Trust me, that's in the future.
Well, the reason I gave you the Ulster Marion was partly because of Dana, because I thought, they're great cut flowers.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, you can go out there and, cut a few flowers for a bouquet.
I bring roses in for her all the time.
Really?
Put them up. Absolutely. Absolutely, all the time. The most recent, we have Lemon Spice and Green Planet in our kitchen right now. And we're still keeping an eye on the plumeria.
Nice.
The Katrina flood of 2021 here in San Diego. And the leaves are starting to fall off, which I told is normal.
100%
it's
normal.
all normal. So
make sure that the soil is getting dry.
Yeah, I got to dry it out. I'm going to tip it over again.
Speaking of roses, you brought in some roses to show our listeners on Facebook Live, right, John?
Well, last week we mentioned bringing a budded maiden into the studio.
And she couldn't make it. So what did we replace?
Your eyes lit up, and there they are, Brian. And a budded maiden is a rose that has had a flower bud budded onto a wild rootstock or some type of rootstock, right? So how many years ago was it you were at the auction? Maybe 15 years ago, and your son Eric won the Rose Green Planet.
Yeah, that was 2004 or 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, back in Carlsbad when the auction was in Carlsbad. And I'm still getting roses off that, and that's where your cuttings came from.
But you can't get Green Planet. If somebody wants to buy the rose, they can't get it. So, and I lost mine when I moved because it was in the ground. So I wanted the plant again, and I wanted one for our auction. So I came over to your place, and we took cuttings, and I sent those off to Steve Singer at Wisconsin Roses. And Steve took a knife, cut a bud out, and put it onto a Multiflora rootstock. And there's, if you can hold up that Green Planet over there,
which one's
Tiger, it's the one that has the branches on it, but not the flower.
It's the one right down here.
I'm zooming in on it. So
okay.
And I said I should have brought one of my blooms in this morning. I have a Green Planet bloom that
you should have.
I should have, so people could see before and after. But Tiger's
doesn't help us now.
Tiger's got the close-up shot right now.
All right. Those branches you see are from a wild rose, a multiflora rose, and that's what the rootstock is. But if you look really close, in the center of the stem that comes out of the ground is a lighter green part, and there's a bud right there. And that's why it's called a budded maiden, because only that bud will be a Green Planet rose. So what I'm going to do after the wild rootstock, the multiflora, starts to leaf out, you can see it's starting to leaf out now. I will go and I will cut the top of that off so that it looks like the other one just to the other side. You can see where I have cut off the top, Tiger, that bud has actually began to grow.
Yeah, right there. There you go.
And then
a year later, it'll look like, now that's not Green Planet, it's a rose called Red Jacket. But 1 year after that, you can see, if you're online, you can see
there's
Tiger
the Red
pointing
Jacket right there.
to the bud. But then a year later, you've got a plant that's blooming and is 100%, will be 100% Green Planet.
You know, I do want to, this is a good time to remind our Biz Talk listeners that you can see all these visuals if you do tune into our Facebook show. So our apologies if you have to use your imagination if you're listening on Biz Talk Radio.
Yeah, if you're listening on the radio, you can always go back and you can fast forward right to you come
to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, and all of our shows are archived. This will be the most recent show uploaded this afternoon.
It just is amazing how many different ways you can propagate roses. You know,
oh, it's fun.
You know, I mean, you're talking about the budded maidens.
Right.
You're talking about own root roses. You grow them from seed.
Right.
You can propagate them from tissue culture.
Right.
I mean, it's really neat how creative people are, and each come with their own pros and cons, right, John? I mean, obviously, we grafted them in the past because of root problems and
disease,
regional issues and things like that, and then production to be able to make it happen a bit quicker. And then they developed their own root line, and it comes with its own benefits of the plant stability and strength, and lower
labor costs, so the plants can be sold less.
For less. But at the same time, it also weighs to being able to grow a rose wherever you are.
Right.
Because depending, on where you are, you will have success. You might not have success with an own root rose, but you will have success if it's grown this specific way.
That's a question we could have asked Mark as well. With people all over the world getting a hold of him or wanting to buy plants from him, if somebody says, I'd like this, well, they reach out and say, you know what? I suggest not, because that's not going to do well in your zone.
No, they're not going to do that. But what they are going to do...
What will they do?
What they will do is, if you want a plant that's, is a tropical plant from the countries he deals with, you can send him a request and say, could you get me this?
Yeah.
And they will look for it.
Okay, got you.
And then they'll send you a price.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like the plant we talked about last week, which was, trying to think what country it was from. But it was from the tropics, and the only one we could find online was $27,000. So I think it was Nicaragua. There's only 6 of those plants left in the wild, but there are more of them in private collections.
Yeah.
So there may be one down there that you could send a request and say, hey, could I get one? Instead of $27,000, I'll give you $15,000.
But like you say, he connects people in the sense of, there's a ton of small growers, and
right.
Like even here in San Diego County, I own a retail garden center, so I have my collection of plants that I'm putting out there to the public.
Right.
But there are other retail garden centers out there, and they have their own collection of plants that they're putting out to the public. Well, he is talking to all of those people in these countries, so that way he knows what they all have, and putting it in a source for us to find. Where, here, you'd have to call each nursery and ask them if they have this plant, or you'd have to be going to each nursery and ask them if they have this plant. That small grower in Fallbrook that just does specialty stuff, you might never even know existed, but they have that plant that you want.
Right.
That's creating that source.
I'm sorry, John. I'm going to take a break.
All right.
Now,
Then I'll wait till after
and
the
what were
break
you
to
gonna
take
talk
my
about?
comments.
So we're going to remind you when we come back. What is it again?
Okay, I'm going to talk about the people who are actually doing the growing.
Of
these
people
roses.
actually doing the growing.
Right. That
and a lot more after we take a break on Biz Talk Radio and Facebook Live. This is Garden America. All righty, welcome back to Garden America. Having a good time this morning, and love having you support the show, those on Biz Talk Radio, those on Facebook Live. Hope you enjoyed our guest, Mark Javier, as we're still getting some feedback, and again, talking about a lot of things that he's up to and how he does it. Right now, John wants to talk about growers.
Well, I was going to talk about the people that are growing the plants, for instance, in Ecuador, where he gets a lot of his plants. I think we might have given the impression that these are little small nurseries. And what a lot of these people are indigenous people who have no source of income or any economic opportunities. And they are realizing that, hey, I can, in my backyard, grow a few of these plants and get something rather than nothing. So it's a great opportunity for the people that are native to those countries.
Mark said they've been in existence about a year, but based on everything we're talking about this morning and what they're able to do, I can't imagine what it took to plan this and start this up and do everything that they do, just in terms of their resources, to start at ground zero. It's a lot of time
he
and
didn't
effort.
start at ground zero. I think he started with Bitcoin.
Yeah,
well,
definitely. But at the same time, he had to, like he mentioned also, he's got people there.
Yeah.
So he,
boots on the ground,
imagine
as
if
he
John,
said, right?
Is working with a company, but you're here in San Diego, so you could be going around to these farmers. You can be going around to these people and say, "What do you got? Let's see what. Hey, let's think about producing this one because this is what is trending right now." And then that grower just starts growing it because it's there. It's easy for them to grow. There's not a lot of difficulties that they're going to have to overcome to do it. And next thing you know, they're growing the plants for
So,
you.
John, you can probably start doing this within the next year or so. Some good retirement money. My goodness, the possibilities are endless.
Too little, too late.
Nah.
There used to be a nursery that was mail order called Asiatica Nursery.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry Yinger used to go around the world as a plant hunter, seeking out in Asia and Japan these little tiny nurseries that specialized in certain plants, and Thailand. And then he would bring them back, import them, and grow them at his garden center in Pennsylvania, I think it was. And then he would sell them. And he said that he did that for 30 years before he realized he could never make any money doing it. And he went out of business and closed down. But what Mark has done is eliminated bringing the plants in himself. So if Barry had been able to set up a shipment from Japan direct to your home, he might have been able to make money that way.
Well, and the other expense that Barry had was he was flying around the world,
Right.
looking for these plants.
Right.
That's a huge cost, right?
Well, also he was in business for 30 years, so it was before the internet. So
Right.
you really couldn't even send, emails or
Emails
pictures
or whatever. Yeah.
Here's a picture. I've got these. Do you want them?
Okay, no, go ahead. I want to make sure we're covering all the plants
Okay,
in
well, I was
studio.
going to mention that we're talking about house plants, and do you remember the plants I brought in last week?
Yes.
The philodendrons and things like
Yep.
that,
Mhm.
the house plants
that you went and got from Idaho.
from Idaho. And the one nursery was, Rick had pointed it out, and my daughter confirmed it, was Edwards Nursery.
Edwards, right.
Yeah, so my daughter just messaged us and said Edwards is having a 50% off sale on houseplants. Wants to know if I have any requests.
And what they do, they cut the plants in half.
Yeah.
That's the 50%, not
Oh.
the price.
Same price.
Yeah,
just
same price.
half the plant.
Half the plant. Yeah, 50% off.
Doesn't sound like much of a deal.
But do you think that they're doing that to? Are they going to close down soon?
No, they're doing it because it's winter.
winter,
and,
right.
And especially the Boise area's been really cold.
That's what I'm
last month.
saying. Are they going to close through the winter, so they're just trying to get rid of their inventory, or?
No, it's too late for that.
They just want to move inventory
Yeah,
out
they
during
have
this time of the year.
greenhouses, so the
So they're
plants are
just-
in the greenhouse. It's just getting people to leave their home.
to come and to the
Right.
greenhouse.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they can't walk the yard. It's obvious. It's 6 degrees outside.
Edwards needs to get into some Uber Eats kind of shipping. So
That's a great idea.
You can shop from the comfort of your couch, and we'll bring the plant to you.
Yeah, show the plants online and we'll deliver them. How about
Too
that?
cold.
You know,
Too cold to move out there.
it ain't too cold for you to do that here in San Diego, Mr. Mission Hills.
But
no,
of
they need
course-
to come into the nursery.
Of course,
I know
if you are in the Boise area and you're freezing,
Yeah,
one of the things you do want to do is get out of the house.
yeah.
You know,
and go to a greenhouse.
and go
That'd
to
be
a
awesome.
greenhouse.
Get
yeah.
warm, right?
Right. And Edwards has got just such a fantastic selection of all kinds of things.
Did
It's
we cover
fun
everything?
walking around.
How are we doing? Did we leave any plants out? I think we've got it.
Did we cover the uniqueness of the Pelagonium that John got me?
No, we'll do that right now.
It is
Gina, by
unique.
the way, mentioned to you, Tiger, that the 50% off sale might be the result of all the snow up there. They're not
Yes.
used to snow lasting that long.
Where did you say this Pelagonium was from?
That Pelargonium is a South African, Pelargoniums are geraniums, or what we call geraniums, and it's a South African species from Namakwa land, which is, Brian, you know, it's
Namakwa land is next to Namibia.
Namibia. Right,
Thank
it's
you.
in the border area between Namibia and South Africa.
Namibia.
Right.
Say that 10 times real fast, John. Get you on that
And
one.
it's inland. I'm pulling it up on a map right now.
Right.
It's not even along the coast.
And one of the, so it's a drought tolerant plant, right?
It must be, because this
South
does look like
Africa.
a pretty dry
Right,
area
and it does
of South
go,
Africa.
because it is dry, it goes dormant in the summer. But if you look at the leaves on that, they're kind of fuzzy.
Mhm.
And part of the reason, excuse me, part of the reason is so that the leaves can collect water, dew,
Oh.
Oh.
and actually hold on to,
Hold on to the dew.
Right.
We
They
say
do
do
the
the
do.
do, right?
Yeah. So anyway, it's a really cool plant, and the color, it has some buds on it. When they open up, Tiger, I think you'll be surprised by how vibrant the color is. Not huge flowers, but
Nice, vibrant.
nice vibrance, right?
Yeah. I like-
Anybody that knows South Africa, I do not see one city in Namakwa land.
There are
This
no
is
cities in Namakwa land. You know what Namakwa land is known for is its wildflowers. So people will visit there in the spring, which is what, August? Around August.
Right, because right now it's summertime down there.
Right.
Mhm.
But people will visit for if you Google Namakwa land wildflowers, I think you'll be surprised
Right.
at
Well, it sounds
some
like
of
a
the
made-up
showing.
country. Say it again.
It's Namakwa land.
Namakwa land.
Tiger and I were talking about how it was right next to Wakanda.
It's on a map. It's on a map.
Yeah, Wakanda.
So it must be real.
I like Wakanda. I would buy Wakanda. Namakwa land,
Yeah.
It's
That's-
real.
That's really neat. I'm excited. I'm excited to see it bloom. I see the buds on it already.
you see Christina's
take
question there, John?
photos.
Well, Christina wants to know the botanical name for the Pelargonium. It is Pelargonium.
Yeah.
Is the genus, and the species is
Is it what you have?
Fulgidum.
Yeah, I was going to say
So
Fulgidum.
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 Yeah.
Coffee, right?
That's Folgers.
Oh,
So, I just thought a whole nother niche of plant lovers. So, obviously, a hybrid is a hybrid that somebody created. Somebody had an inspiration. Somebody had an idea to create that plant, that flower, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's just a, original
Species.
species,
Yeah.
and it has, like you say, that vibrant orange color,
Right.
without anybody messing with it, it just naturally had that. That's its own kind of unique story behind it, right? I mean, so finding these native, let's call them plants that are, not hybrids, but they're just what they are in nature, and having that still those same striking colors or foliage or shape, that's pretty cool.
And the South African Pelargoniums adapt really well to California culture because of this,
Yeah, they're
dry summers.
Dry
Climate.
summers and
Right.
climate and all of that for sure.
If you want one of those plants, there is a nursery in California that grows them and specializes in Pelargoniums, and they have a huge collection of South African species. And the name of the nursery is Geranium ACE,
Geraniaceae.
which is the family of geraniums,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And Pelargoniums are in that family. They are in California, and they've got a huge list, and you can order from them now. And again, that was Pelargonium fulgidum, which is Fulgidum.
Okay, it is break time. We have one more segment coming up, so any last-minute questions, comments, right there on a Facebook page. Again, this show will be uploaded in its entirety this afternoon. Go to our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio Show. You can watch this show and all the other previous shows. Facebook as well. If you want to subscribe to the newsletter, we've got things up and rolling on our website. That is gardenamerica.com. Gardenamerica.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. It's right there. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Okay, we have made it. Quick show, great show, a lot of information. This is our final segment as we continue on your Saturday afternoon or maybe still Saturday morning here on Garden America. Those on Biz Talk Radio, thank you for tuning in as well.
I was just getting warmed up, too.
I know we could do another hour.
Let's come back next week. Do
Yeah,
this
why
again.
not? Next week. Hey, by the way, Tiger's taking off to go to Las Vegas after the show.
Yep.
Really?
He's going to watch the Raiders and Chargers, which was originally scheduled for a 1 p.m. kickoff. So luckily, he scheduled his flight leaving later
The
on.
last flight out of Vegas.
But now the game's at 5 o'clock. So he's going to be squeezed for time. I'm
Yes.
curious next week, the experience at Allegiant Stadium compared to SoFi.
I am going to give you a full report. Do not worry. Yes.
All
I'm
right.
excited. I'm excited to see.
Yeah,
about the difference.
and all that, just the whole experience, how easy to get in. It's
Yeah.
right by the freeway. We drove by it on the way to Cheyenne.
Yeah, right next to the airport.
Right.
Okay, plants.
Yes, back to
Right.
plants.
Dana, by the way, says that we're so fun to listen to and
Thanks.
learn from. And Dana, when Brian gets home,
What am I bringing her? I'm bringing Calla Lily and Ulster Marion.
You're also bringing her a project.
Oh, the email project.
Right. We're not going to talk about that yet on the air, but you talked to Dana. And
What can we say anything about it?
Not yet.
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
I better get my words together to explain it to her precisely.
It's like telling somebody where a treasure's buried. You just don't want to tell them till you've had a chance to dig it up.
Yeah.
We had a question from John, and he wanted to know if pelargoniums are like geraniums. Pelargoniums are what geraniums are normally referred to as,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
True geraniums are perennials, and we don't grow a lot of those in California. They're usually grown in cold climates, but they will grow here. For instance, if you buy a zonal geranium, it's actually a pelargonium.
Yep.
So, and ivy geraniums. And Martha Washington geraniums. Yep. Those are all pelargoniums.
And those are the ones that you always see in hanging baskets, in the 1-gallon pots in full bloom, everywhere you go. People get blown away when they get a real geranium because it doesn't look like a pelargonium.
Right. Yeah, the species are really different. By the way, the fulgidum that we have here is also called the celandine geranium, after the celandine color to the leaves. And John also wanted to know if the flowers drop on their own. The flowers do, but the flower stems don't.
Right.
So you snap those off just like you do on regular geraniums.
But I would say most of the pelargoniums are pretty good about self-cleaning. I mean, even if you just brush off the bush.
Right. Once they turn brown, they'll fall off.
Yeah,
right?
and you see the stems in there, but that's fine. I mean, they don't look terrible.
No.
They're pretty easy. I like geraniums as a whole for that idea.
Though, if you go to the nursery we were talking about, Geraniaceae, if you order from them, we've had her on the show several times. Maybe we should have her on again. She does a great job of shipping plants all over the country. But if you go there and want to order geraniums, they also carry the one that we were talking about last week that was from St. Helena.
Oh.
The island.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that you like because it looks like a little bonsai tree.
Bonsai tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll bring that in next week.
I think it's nice when we do have plants in the studio. I mean, good visual effect for people on Facebook. They like it. We like it.
I think it's so funny, though, because it definitely is a real plant show where we're showing a
exactly
pot with dirt and a little bit of leaves on it. But it is really cool.
This is what we do. Plants.
Dana's asking if the project is a headache, and right there, that's the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
Well,
you
not
need
for
an
me,
attitude.
but for Dana. Not for me, but for Dana.
Yeah, but she needs an attitude shift. Can't approach it that way, Dana. You need to be enthusiastic, and it's an opportunity, right?
It's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So those that are listening, just hang in there. But we got to get this together, and then we'll let you know what we're talking about and how you can be involved.
There you go.
Let's see, what was... Veronica in Spring Valley wants to know about mint geraniums.
Oh, yeah. The scented geraniums.
The scented leaf geraniums. There's probably about 20 common ones. And they're more of the species geraniums, too. And on a scented leaf geranium, Brian, they're called that because if you rub the leaf, you get a scent of that particular...
Exactly.
You got lemon, you got lime, you got...
coconut,
orange, coconut, mint.
Brian likes to plant the lime with the coconut.
Exactly. Thank you, Harry Nielsen.
The
Doctor
Rose. What's the other rose?
There's a rose scented one.
Yeah.
The
rose of
peppermint lemon. There's some variegated ones.
And so supposedly they're kind of herbal, right?
Yeah.
Some people say they have some kind of
some
herbal
aromatherapy,
that kind of.
Yeah. The peppermint geranium has those. There's chocolate peppermint.
Yeah, goodness.
Which has got huge leaves.
You could do a whole show just on this.
You could, and they're really fuzzy, and it smells like chocolate peppermint.
Yes, they are spot on. When you smell a scented geranium
and had your eyes closed, you would think the real deal.
You would know exactly what you're smelling.
I think the one that surprised me most was the coconut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it doesn't look at all like a geranium, and the smell is coconut.
Yes.
By the way, how is your taste and smell, John? A little better?
Much better.
Nice.
Yeah,
Attaboy.
yeah.
You're impressed, aren't you?
Well, Tiger recommended some therapy for me, and I've been trying it, and it works a little.
It works good.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're going to keep an eye on that in 2022. We're going to follow your progress.
Oh,
We're going to start bringing things into the studio and have them do taste tests.
Exactly. We've got about a minute to go, guys. Whatever you want to wrap up with.
Christina mentioned that the nutmeg is another one of the scented geraniums.
Oh, there's a ton. There's a ton out there.
Okay,
It's
hey,
crazy.
we gotta say goodbye. I hate to. We got so many people still listening and watching.
And you're making Carolyn hungry.
Yeah, but thank you so much for tuning in. Now, again, next week, bring yourselves back to your computer, back to the radio. Bring some friends. Bring some new listeners. Bring some new viewers.
Yeah.
And again, go to our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio Show.
You can
our
share
website.
it, can't you?
You can share it, yes.
Yeah.
Our website's gardenamerica.com. Sign up for the newsletter and just enjoy. Have yourself a great rest of your weekend. Tiger, safe trip to Las Vegas. And we'll see most of you, if not all of you, next week right here on Garden America. Be safe. Take care.